find myself fucking doing nothing except going to work and coming home and doing chores.
Time dilation's a real fuck, isn't it?
I am so fucked. I might join Scientology. Tom Cruise seems pretty satisfied.
I can't
Come
be
out
your
of
friend
here.
anymore. Yeah, I can't be your friend anymore. Flat earthers, Scientologists.
All right, let's
I
get
hate
this.
it all.
Let's get this show on the road here. Here we go. Hey, blasphemers. Welcome to Simple Blasphemy, where we have the best times with the worst topics.
We're three friends that discuss everything and nothing, from wacky headlines to games and trivia. All subjects bizarre and risque are on the table.
Our weekly guests range from friends, musicians, and artists to professionals in a variety of industries.
We go live on Facebook and YouTube every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Want to support the show? Join our Patreon. You can find it and more at www.simpleblasphemy.com.
So grab a drink and join it!
It's too late now. This is Simple Blasphemy.
All right. Welcome to the Simple Blasphemy podcast, all you blasphemers out there. My name is Zach Ward, and I have here with me always Andy's. Oh, boy.
Hi.
All right. And also Mr. Zach Green, the clean machine.
It's about to get biblical, bitch! It actually it is about
It really is. We're going to get locusts and frogs and shit.
Do the carpentry
All
of the
that
Lord's
stuff.
work. All the info on this show can be found on simpleblasphemy.com. And if you click that like, share, subscribe button, you will receive what for 5 years now, Andy?
A 5-second shit tomorrow morning, and that's the only one you need to make all week. You're going to feel completely empty.
virtually
5 years.
impossible for me.
For 5 years.
5 years.
Of
Fair
just-
enough.
You get one big one. you're just paid up.
Hey, really quick, before we start into this awesome show
would you-
here about awesome stuff, I want to let everybody know that Jesus was a carpenter, and he would be like the fifth guy in this fucking talking shop about making furniture and shit like that,
How do you not know that you're
making
not
loots.
Jesus?
He is more than welcome to join us if you would like to make the comeback to our
You
story.
can make it. You can make your return here.
On Simple Blasphemy.
So our guest tonight is David from the Make Something YouTube channel, but you can go to makesomething.com. Is that
Great
correct?
web address.
That is correct, yes.
And this
Great
is
web
where you can
address.
find web address. You can find everything there, but we're going to just dive into it's not too often without shaming our list of subscribers to find somebody, talk with somebody that literally has almost a million. I mean, getting 250,000, little over, right? And
Way closer to 1 million than us.
Yeah, I think on YouTube we're at somewhere 700,000, getting close to 800,000 subscribers.
Yep.
I don't know what it is on
Oh my
Facebook
God.
and Instagram.
Now you're gonna tack on a bunch of our friends from India to add to that.
well, yeah,
you gonna put me over the top?
7 billion.
actually, it's ironically our audio only is our biggest area is India. Believe it or not, that's who downloads the show. Thank you, India. We
Thank you,
appreciate it.
India.
Always thank you, India.
So how did this all start? Now I understand you were a musician, you were doing photography, and then somehow you wanted to build picture frames. Is that correct?
Yes. Obviously, you've done your research and you read my About Me page.
And that
No, I was taking a bunch of photos, getting ready for an art show. Toledo used to have this art show called shoot, I can't remember what it's called now. Something 419. But anyway, I was shooting all these photos, getting ready, and I went to go take these photos to a framer to have them framed, and they wanted $125 a piece. And I was just kind of blown away. I'm like, I think I can make my own frames. So I took woodshop in high school back in the 90s. So I went and got a miter saw, and then I watched a couple of YouTube videos. And then my obsessive personality just kind of took over. And I started watching more YouTube videos and then buying more tools. And at the time, I was working at a marketing agency. And so I knew the basics of marketing myself, and I got a fairly large Facebook following right away, and that translated into YouTube videos, and 8 years later, here we are.
Yeah, really. Obsessive compulsiveness. So you made these picture frames. Like, what was?
I didn't make the picture frames.
Oh.
I bought the tools to make the picture frames, but I never did.
Oh, that was not on your About Us.
That is not. I ended up buying art from the Dollar General, or picture frames from the Dollar General, and then putting my photos in there. That's a life hack if you're an artist. But that picture frame, me wanting to make picture frames, is what got me down the woodworking rabbit hole.
I got you.
And Madden can do so much.
Yeah, and often, like, for me, I was kind of in the same boat, except I had a guy working on my floor, and he never finished it. So there's a lot of quarter round never done. And then I just, I can do this. So I just went to Harbor Freight, got myself a miter box, and just started doing it myself, which then, again, just spun out of control, I suppose, to some degree. So when you decide, what was the point when you started woodworking? You have your grandfather you were apprenticed to him in some way, shape, or form, right? He's
a woodworker. He's not. Yeah. He's going to be 99 in 8 days, and he still goes out into the wood shop every day and makes stuff. Yeah, he's amazing.
And in 5 years, I hope you say he's going to be 104 years old. He still goes out into the fucking wood shop.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Is he retired?
Yeah, he retired from his job long time ago. So woodworking, I think he would agree with this, that going out in the shop every day is the reason he's alive. He has something to do. He has something to keep him busy. He has a purpose.
It's a religion.
Yeah.
So let's ask this, since we're talking about Grandpa. Is there anything like a newer technology that since he's been doing this for so long, that he would just prefer, like, you don't need that fancy stuff. All you need is this.
The drill.
The egg beater drill. He's been to my shop, and he was just kind of like, this is crazy. I don't have an ordinary wood shop. My wood shop is actually carpeted, and I've got drop ceilings, and people think I'm insane. But he was kind of in shock when he saw my shop, because his shop is mostly just this Harbor Freight scroll saw that he uses, and a Craftsman table saw that he got 40 years ago, and a bunch of sanders, and the drills that you still have to plug into the wall that are the size of the Hulk's arm,
and they're all metal. They're chromed metal. Yeah,
all metal. Even
if anybody breaks
the
into his house, he can just beat the crap out of him with these drills. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, he's very old school. There's just dust everywhere, and it's dirty. It's the way a wood shop should look.
So, my question is, I mean, not obviously, all of us have played music in some way, shape, or form in bands, and we've also tried to promote ourselves. It used to be, hanging up flyers and seeing John Staybrook, at Kinko's. Anyway, what was the pivot point that you said, you know what, maybe I should start creating this content on Facebook? Facebook looks like for you started a couple years before the YouTube channel, I believe 2 years before. In fact, I think it was February of 2012, because I actually looked.
You know more than I do. That's crazy.
Sorry. And you started under the Drunken Woodworker. Is that what kind of started the branding?
So that is correct. My friend Zach Durst, which I think one of you said that he was over at my backyard one day, and I was just getting into woodworking, and there's a table saw in the basement, and we're in the backyard. There's a fire, and we're drinking whiskey. And he drunkenly says we should do one more shot, and then go into the wood shop and make something. And I was like,
Make
ha
a
ha
hospital
ha, the
claim.
drunken woodworker. And then the next day, it just kind of that stuck with me. The drunken woodworker. And so, with my graphic design background and marketing history, I created a logo. I understood branding, and people started liking my Facebook page just because it looked professional, even though I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And so that just kind of took off. And excuse me. One of the things that really got my start was, even though I wasn't that good of a woodworker at the time, I didn't know what I was doing, I was making these projects on YouTube. But once a week, I had a show called the Weekly Woodworking Wrap-Up Review. And all I did was I would have a beer of the week, and while I'm drinking this beer, I would highlight other woodworking videos, because there's a whole bunch. Lots of people making woodworking videos. And I gained an audience just from highlighting other people. And then eventually I stopped making that show and just started focusing on my own projects, and that audience kind of translated over to what I was doing. And now I'm still a hack, but at least I know what I'm doing, and pretty good at not cutting my fingers off.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, did you consider that maybe calling yourself the drunken woodworker might prevent you from getting jobs?
Well, yes. So it started off as a joke.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was going to be a career. And I was getting school teachers saying, I'd like to show your projects in class, but I can't because of your name. And then kids were emailing me. So eventually I changed the channel name to Make Something. And I guess we're family friendly now.
I like Make Something. I mean, the drunken woodworker's just fine, but Make Something.
Oh, it helped. Well, it got rid of the drunken part.
Mainly.
But it got rid of the word woodworking. So now it's anything. And as I've got, I don't know, Zach, you probably know. I have over like 200 videos on my YouTube channel. I don't remember the exact count. Woodworking starts to get old after you make 200 plus projects, so I want to start doing other things. I got a couple photography videos coming out. I want to get more into art, and maybe more into sculpture, and then do other crazy things. So the Make Something will now encompass anything that I create. Maybe I want to make a video about how to make a beat, how to or creating a song. So
How to make an 8x12 room in your garage and drywall it.
when it comes to
I'm
that
sorry, I was looking
construction
at
stuff,
Zach. I was looking at Zach Ward.
Yeah, and you know what? I can't, number one, because I'm a web designer by trade of college, but how you got makesomething.com is just blowing my mind.
I know, seriously.
Oh, well, so makesomething.com was not available. It was
Of course.
makesomething.tv for a while.
Okay.
And then I basically had to pay like $5,000 for makesomething.com, which is, at the time, it
Pennies.
was ridiculous. And it was just like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but it was the best business decision I could have made. And now that I did that, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, I feel better about it. So, but at the time, it just felt sickening to pay $5,000 for something that doesn't even exist in the physical world.
And we go back to the 90s, and we're like, man, if I could have headhunted all of these web addresses
Fuck.
and just made a book.
Yeah.
I
So,
McDonald's.
That's the talent I want to have.
So before we go any further, I'm a little too excited because I love woodworking. So I forgot to ask you 2 questions before we really dive into the beginning. 2 questions. What is the worst job you've ever had?
My very first job, and I was working at a dog kennel, and this is not even interesting, but the owner, she was mean and horrible, and just called everybody names. And I only worked there for 1 summer, and then I just walked out on her when she threw a dog dish, bounced off the wall, and hit me in the leg. And I was like, that's it, I'm out of here. So Yeah. Just cleaning up dog crap.
Yep, I'll get you that.
It just sounds
second-
like abuse.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. It was not a good situation.
The second question
Take
is
her fucking nose and just stick it in dog shit.
okay. Not even.
Bad boss.
Smell like this.
Bad boss.
We
Stop. I'm gonna just don't do that.
Zach, you completely missed, or you just didn't even use the passive part and went straight to aggressive. The second question actually is super serious. The second question is, what is your opinion of the word equality?
It means more now than it ever did, really. I was not prepared for deep questions.
This is the last deep question.
Yeah, so
It's all dick and farts from here on out.
it's more. So it's more than just treating people the same. It is. It goes back to people not being treated the same throughout history, and so now we're in a position where it's okay to say certain things when it shouldn't be, or people are just in a position, maybe they've been treated fairly all their lives, but they grew up in an environment that didn't give them the opportunities because their parents or their grandparents weren't treated fairly. So equality is evolving and needs to continue to evolve, and we are nowhere near everybody being treated equal.
That was an amazing answer. We've had every single person, I don't care how famous or not so famous anyone is, they have a really interesting outtake, and our goal is to compile everyone's definition of what equality is and just do it into a montage, perhaps for
A little bit of
Pride.
Phil Collins in the background.
Maybe for Pride, Pride Month next year or something along those lines. And it's just so amazing to hear people's take. And we have not heard that version of it where you take a look kind of to the backstory of what equality used to be. And what a really awesome answer,
It
man.
was very thoughtful.
So,
Thank you.
let's leave the serious stuff aside and let's just dive into
Boners.
no, David's. I did a deep dive on Make Something's YouTube channel, which I encourage everybody to go subscribe so he can hit that 1 million mark. I believe you get a plaque, so that'll be awesome. And here is a 3-minute video of your first trip around your shop.
Here we go.
And we're going to see how things have changed.
So here's my shop tour as it stands now. I have a saw stop 1.75 horsepower cabinet saw with a large crosscut sled and an outfeed table made from MDF. Below the outfeed table is where I keep all my gluing and finishing supplies. Here's my small 6-inch benchtop grizzly joiner. And below that, I keep my Delta lunchbox planer that rolls out from the wall. My router setup is a Porter cable mounted in a bench dog router table. And here's my bench. The base is made from Douglas fir. It's equipped with a Veritas front vise, and the top is made from white pine with purple hard edges. Here's my collection of hand tools that includes a Lee Nielsen dovetail saw, some Wood River hand planes, a smoothing plane I made myself, and some Lee Nielsen chisels. My air filtration that sits alongside my Harbor Freight 2 horsepower dust collector. One of my favorite tools is my Grizzly 14-inch bandsaw. And behind that sits my Jet 10-inch drum sander. In the other half of the basement is where I keep all my bench tools and clamps. My Grizzly sander and Dremel scroll saw, my Skill drill press and my Harbor Freight 12-inch disc sander and spindle sanders. In the corner is where I keep my collection of woodworking books and DVDs and my prized Silas Comp marquetry piece that he made at WIA. There's my sideways Elvis. He came with the basement. My collection of small clamps, hand power tools, and miscellaneous crap. All my Bessie parallel clamps and bar clamps just hang out in the corner, waiting for me to make a rack. My tool board that utilizes the French cleat system, and a little shop cabinet that I never finished. My brand new Jet 1221 VS lathe. And my wood storage. To keep up with me, subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr, Instagram, and Etsy. And be sure to check out my website at drunkenwoodworker.com.
Did you
All
say
right.
Google Plus?
Yes, he did. Yes, he
Oh my
did.
God.
Take us back. Take us back, man.
I have to.
Well, first of
I have to interject. I'm so sorry. I have to interject.
Yeah, please.
I fucking love how it's made.
Oh God.
It is my favorite show of all time, next to like the Venture Brothers. Right? I could watch a how it's made. I was just gonna do it as kind of like a yes, yeah. I'll go ahead and like your page. No, I'm gonna watch all your shit now.
So
Seriously,
I
where'd you
didn't-
get that background music? That's.
I
okay.
like the background music. Actually,
I loved it. I didn't like it. I fucking
there's-
loved it.
There's
Perfect.
I have so many things to talk about. So
Unpack
I
it-
haven't seen that video
unpack
in
this.
years. My face is red. So, all right. I didn't like the guy narrating the video. That was me in
Sure.
my stupid
Oh,
fake
okay.
voice. Like, so
Love it.
my shop is completely different now, and the way I make videos is completely different now. Everything about that video was so impersonal and just not authentic. Like the fake crappy jazz music. I make almost all my own music now for my videos. I'm really proud about that. I don't do voiceovers anymore. I actually talk to the camera with my face, and you can kind of see what's going on. It makes it a little bit more authentic and real.
Personal.
And it's just cringe. It's just cringeworthy watching that. So I still have some of those tools, the Harbor Freight sanders. Those things will last forever. People
That's,
could
you
just
don't hear
Harbor
that about
Freight.
Harbor Freight that much.
So, by the way,
It's hit or miss.
if
But
you
here's the
watch-
thing with Harbor Freight: if you know how to change out one or two things,
The
it'll
centrifugal
last.
clutch.
It's durable. It's durable.
Yeah. The centrifugal clutch, which I didn't even know what that was 2 months ago, went out on my disc sander, and it was an easy fix. And now the disc sander is working again. And I say, well, have that same Harbor Freight spindle sander. That Harbor Freight dust collector a friend now has, because I have something a little bit different in my new shop. Still have that same lathe. But a lot of the other tools I upgraded to something bigger. When I buy tools, it's all about safety and efficiency.
Dust collection.
So I'm trying to make as many videos as I can. This is what I do for a living. So I need bigger tools so I can work faster. I can run more boards through a bigger planer than I could a small planer, etc. And so I get a lot of crap for having tools like maybe a common DIYer doesn't have. But I don't make videos for the common DIYer. I make videos for people who want to create something. So it's more about inspiration. And any experienced woodworker can watch somebody cut something on a large table saw and do the same thing on their small table saw.
there's
It's the
an
same
analog
thing.
as long as you're willing to have the patience to work with it.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm understanding through I just started. You guys are way above me. I'm like minor league, but I found out that if I don't have the right tool, cool, you can kind of make it work. It's not going to look as good as somebody else, but it can be still functional. And then
Yeah.
if you really feel like spending the money, then you can go out and buy the Craftsman table saw that I just bought.
Yeah, exactly. So, I have a very large. The main tool in my shop is the table saw. It sits right in the middle, and it's very large. But it's the same exact thing as a smaller table saw, just has a bigger table. So you can do the exact same thing. You can even modify your smaller ones to have a bigger table that you make yourself. You know, it might not be as sturdy. A lot of the smaller table saws don't have a good fence, so if that fence is not secure at all, you're in danger of hurting yourself. And you know, bigger table saw, you can you have more options of making jigs and stuff. But yeah, so it is all about. And I have a crazy table saw, so it won't cut your hand off. Like if you touch the blade,
Oh, it stops.
it stops. Yeah, it's called a saw stop. So a break, if it senses flesh, a break slams up against the blade. This all happens in a fraction of a second, and then pulls it underneath the table. It is as loud as a gunshot. It will scare the shit out of you, but
It won't cut your finger off.
You will not cut your finger
And
off.
it senses flesh. I'm hung up on that.
Yeah.
Is there what's the science behind that by any chance? I've never heard an
It's been out for a while too.
So basically, I think you're closing a circuit, like a small electrical circuit. I am speaking out of class, but I think so. You can't run wet wood. Like you couldn't just take a tree that you just chopped down in your yard. There's too much moisture in that tree. I think it would trip that break.
And
can
you
turn the
can't
break off.
cut a hot dog. You know,
You can't.
They use a hot dog that show
Yeah.
examples of it. Yeah.
I mentioned Zach Durst earlier, and in another drunken night of drinking whiskey, he's like, we should make a movie, and it's a horror movie where a guy wants to kill this other person and tries to cut him up on the table saw, but the saw keeps stopping and you can't cut it. He gets frustrated.
That's a great idea.
You might be a murderer, but you're not a woodworker.
Yeah. Who wants to be a woodworker murderer?
Times have changed, my friend.
Mike Myers could do it. So take us clearly there's a starting point, and we got to see you have a lot of tools from somebody that they didn't just start doing it. You know what I mean? Where you had a whole array of things. So at what point did you I mean, everybody upgrades and does something better, like, you know, we all do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at what point, when this was the pivot point for the shop tour, that, you know, what was the next step? So we have everything here. What was your next changes to have more efficiency or better dust collection? And the last, I want to ask this question really quickly because I've seen this a couple times. People put a furnace filter on a box fan.
Mm-hmm. I do that.
Is that what's the purpose of it for us laymen, and does it really work, and how often do you have to monitor that and change it?
So it does work. There's a guy named Izzy Swan who did a scientific test. So basically, almost all woodworking tools have some sort of dust collection on there. Usually the higher end of the tool, the really expensive ones, have a better dust collection than something from Harbor Freight. But no dust collection is perfect. And mostly that dust collection at the tool is collecting the dust that you can see. The dust that you can't see that gets into the air, that's the stuff that's going to kill you, give you cancer, and all that. So that's why you're encouraged to wear a dust mask in the shop. So there are a few companies that make air filtration systems where you hang this. Basically, it's a glorified box fan up on your ceiling, and it has a filter in the intake and a filter in the outtake, and it circulates the air, and it traps all that fine micro dust that you sometimes can't see. The box fan with the right HEPA filter will do the exact same thing and just as efficient. So instead of spending $300 on this fancy filtration system, you can spend $20 at Home Depot on a fan and then another $10 on a filter, and you have something that works really, really well. So that's what that is for.
Is there like a square footage that you have to adhere to do something
Yeah.
like that? Because the garage I'm in is very primitive,
Yeah.
and it has one window, and I can't keep the door open, obviously, in the summer, but...
So somewhere on the internet, somebody has calculations for square footage, but it really changes depending on the shape and the size of your, the height of your ceiling. Like, it gets really crazy scientific. So There are some studies that show putting these filtration systems up in a certain part of the shop actually makes the situation worse because it might bring up dust from the floor into the ceiling. So it gets a little weird. I haven't found anything that says this is exactly what you need to do for your shop. So basically, I buy the tools with the best dust collection at the tool, and then on certain tools, I will have that box fan with the filter right next to it, trying to capture as much dust as possible.
Okay.
I've seen somebody take like white pegboard and make it a tabletop for sanding, and then and then attach, basically create a suction with the shop vac, hose that's attached to it. So it's just you're sanding, and you can see the dust just go down rather than
Like a reverse air hockey.
It is, yeah.
Exactly, and they call that a downdraft table.
Hey, we should start a company. Suck hockey.
Yeah.
So the little random orbit sanders that you use, most of them are not very efficient at collecting dust because the dust will go out the side, and that's where that downdraft table comes in really handy. Like most palm or random orbit sanders are like, I don't know, $100, maybe. DeWalt one's $150. Mine is $350 because mine has the best rated dust collection out of any other sander. And since I want to do this for a really long time, spending 3 times as much is totally worth it for me. And it's made by a company that has a really good reputation for research and design. So
and that's like Harbor Freight, for example, is for people that are getting into it.
Yeah, it's not for real professionals.
Yeah, I have a number of those things, and you know what? If I bust through this tool and I find myself I keep wanting it, then I'm going to buy the really nice one.
Yeah, Harbor Freight's the IKEA of woodworking tools.
Oh yeah.
So we one of the future videos that we were talking about making is starting. I want to rent out a space, a blank space,
Garage.
like a garage, and we start from absolutely nothing, and I make a 10-part series on how to get started in woodworking, and it's all going to be used tools and Harbor Freight tools. So it's going to be like getting started on a budget, and then we want to make this like this beautiful cabinet or dresser or chest of drawers or something that would be considered fine woodworking with these cheap tools. And then at the end I can say, yes, you can do this with cheap tools. This is much easier with the fancier tools and much safer, and there's a lot less dust, and it's a lot more pleasurable when you use these fancy tools. But yes, you can do it with these cheap tools.
Are you going to do the one that was made with the cheap tools and then the one made with the expensive tools to A and B them?
I want to move away from woodworking in general and just do more crazy projects, art, and just. Right now, people would say he's a woodworker. He has a woodworking channel. 5 years from now, I want people to say, "Oh, that's an art channel. He makes art sculptures or whatever."
He started a woodworking channel.
So my way of like exiting being a woodworker is the end-all video series of how to get started in woodworking. Like if you want to get started in woodworking,
to you.
Yes, this is a 10-part series. This is everything that you need to know. And then when I make these future videos using these expensive, fancy tools, and you complain that I'm using expensive, fancy tools, I'm going to send you to this series. And then that's going to be the end of that discussion.
That's great. That's great. What a great end of cycle for that.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, and I say this to a lot of people, or ask this question of a lot of people that I fanboy over. So many people watch your show. You recently had a video of showing, taking a tour of your house, the house of a woodworker. People know you better than you know them. What is it like when someone like me starts telling you facts of your own life or store, but you're borderline, like restraining order? What is that like?
It rarely gets weird. It rarely gets weird. It's a good reminder of how lucky I am, for sure. I mean, I think I saw somewhere that in a survey of high school kids, the most desired job was to be a YouTuber, and that's what I am. So that's just bonkers to me. And so I've been doing it full time for I think 6 years now, and there's not a day goes by that's like I can't believe that I get to do this, or it feels like I'm on vacation, and then next week I have to go back to my
Without
old
correction,
job.
it's 7 years, but that's only because I
Thank you.
stalked your channel. Sorry.
See, okay, so now it's getting weird. Now it's you know way too much.
This will be evidence in the court case. Trust me.
No, so I guess I secretly enjoy it because the reason I went from that video that we just watched of me doing an overdub, and that day when I would make a project, you only saw my hands and I overdubbed my voice. But the way I make my videos now is you see my face and I'm talking to the camera, and sometimes we're kind of making it up on the spot. And I want the people to watch the videos for me. I want them to like me, and I want them to feel inspired to make something after watching it. So anybody that knows a lot about me from the videos is pretty flattering, and I guess it's what I asked for.
I'll be honest with you, it completely inspires me. I've got probably 30 to 40 hours just on your channel, and being able to learn. And even though we're bringing up a lot of older videos just to kind of see where the start was, they pale in comparison, obviously, of the evolution of the channel. And you can see that just by the thumbnails. You see there's different color thumbnails that kind of go through different kind of phases of the channel.
I had a green phase.
There is a lime greenish kind of phase. Again, will probably be used in the court's lawsuit of getting a restraining order on me.
Like weird ass Bowie shit going on.
Yeah.
That was my green phase.
Julio says, I work in construction. I transport all the tools I need to build a house in and on a Subaru.
Outback Sport.
So, yeah, baby.
Outback Sport.
I can appreciate that.
Does it have the hood scoop?
You know, was it Julio? I missed the
Yes,
name. You know, somebody like that is a hard worker and very resourceful. So he's got a Subaru Outback, and he's got an entire shop that he pulls out of that. It's like, that's the guy you want coming to work on your shit, because he knows what he's doing. He's the one that gets sweaty and dirty and
to be fair,
Rusty Dodge Ram doesn't work anymore.
No, but to be fair, David, he does have carpet on the bottom of his work floor of his Subaru. So
thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Not too far. All right. So again, folks, I really would like to encourage anybody just to go and check out the website, makesomething.com, makesomething.com.
Frequent the web address.
Yeah, for like we're kind of doing a more, I'm kind of interested in the beginnings of all this stuff, and his videos are absolutely amazing.
And it's ad free. I'm the only woodworker out there who does not put ads on their website.
So I want to dive back on another short video and just get your commentary. And the only reason why I'm bringing this video up is because you are cussing, and we get frustrated. And you're probably, what the hell video is this? But let's take a look at this and see.
I hope it's the Rockler one.
He's just
Hey guys, check this shit out. You see this? All these different tools, they have different sized dust ports, and none of them fit my fucking shop vac. Look at that. It doesn't fucking fit. You can even see here, I had to use fucking duct tape to make it work. Like a Sasquatch. Well, some genius at Rockler, probably a dude with a neck beard in the basement, came up with this universal system to fit most handheld dust ports. Check this out. They didn't fuck around. Comes with this sweet ass hose right here, and the ends, they swivel, which prevents tangling. It's got 2 different sizes that friction fit over all your ports. This just twists right in here. Airtight fit. You gotta love that. I can put this on this guy, I can put this on this guy, I can put this on this guy. Doesn't go right there, that's where the power goes. This shit is about to change your life. And if that doesn't blow your effing mind, use the coupon code down below for 15% off most items in the month of May. Are you kidding me? 15% off. Let me break it down for you if you suck at math. If you bought this T-Track table for $229, you'd save enough money to buy 3 cases of natural light. I ain't lying. This shit's for real. Alright, to keep up with me, I suggest you hit that subscribe button down below for weekly woodworking videos. I also dick around on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So recognize.
Now, obviously, it's funny. Don't get me wrong, but
It's awesome.
Jones barbecue.
There's a
foot
story behind that
massage.
video.
Jones barbecue. and foot
let's
massage.
hear it. And
Oh my
again,
god, you remind me so much of my friend in that video.
So, at the time, Rockler, it's a woodworking supply company, they were sponsoring my videos. We were doing like one sponsored video every 2 months or something like that. And they had this promotion for 15% off in the month of May. And they're like, hey, I know this is outside of our contract, but any chance you could show off this dust port system and do... And give your users this code. And I ignored the email. You know, it was outside the contract. They're asking me to do something for free. And they were like, they replied back again, like, if you really could do this, you know, we'll hook you up with some tools or whatever. I don't remember the exact story. And I was going to ignore the email again. And I was kind of having a frustrating day. And so in the middle of the day, I went to go take a nap. But I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking of, like, what if I did this character, this chewing gum character who loves natural light? And and then I got super excited. And then I just went right down in the basement and I filmed that video. And I finished the cut. Like, I shot and edited it in a couple of hours. And then I sent it to two of my friends. Both of them have huge channels on YouTube. One is Bob Claggett, who has a channel called I Like to Make Stuff. He has like 2 million plus subscribers. And the other one is Jay Bates, and he's probably has like 1 million subscribers or whatever. And Jay's like, you got to release that right now. That is brilliant. And then so Jay is the devil, and then Bob, the angel, is like, you can't release that. You please don't release that. And I was like, I made it live, and I didn't hear anything from Rockler that day. And I wake up the next morning and I get this email from my contact, and he was like, David, I saw your video. I thought I was going to get fired. He thought his bosses were going to fire him. They went into their Friday weekly morning meeting, and everybody at Rockler loved the video. Like, so he's like, I thought I was going to get fired. Everybody fucking loved it. We can't promote this. We can't put this on our channel, but thank you. So it worked out great. It's my favorite video to date.
It doesn't go in here because that's where the power goes.
Yeah.
yeah, it's.
I love the math part is my favorite.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You suck at math.
I had a roommate, and that comes from a roommate who would break down like, oh, I got to get a new shirt. That's 2 cases of Busch beer or whatever. He always broke everything down into cases of Busch beer. And so that came from my old roommate, Matt.
So I just want to say once again, folks, this is the old part at the very bottom of the channel. I'm going to bring up just a few pictures of something more recent that you can go check out, or at least closer to recent. How to make a serving tray, which is really, really cool video. And then also, this might be a little bit older, but also how to build the shop tool. And as you can see with the pocket screws, for those who know at least Craig version of that, this is a cool build. Like, the design of that, super. I haven't seen anything like that where you're.
I love the radiuses.
Yeah, it's super cool. So there are things like that. Now we are going to go into a segment soon of diving into some Craigslist listings of tools and just kind of, just get a feel for, are these things really worth it? Or should you heckle people, or maybe should you just not buy these and get something new and get David's input? But before that, Zach Green, we talk about this all the time. He, and so many different episodes, he actually restores the original video games from the 70s and 80s. And nobody's really saw his shop. So we'll get your opinion too, Dave. But I asked Zach to take a couple pictures, and I've got 3 for you if you want to see Zach Green. Now, folks, when you look at this, don't even move anything with your eyes. He'll know that you moved something in this extremely
Oh wow.
Organized.
well
God,
organized.
Perfect. Look at that boombox.
Hold on. We got way more. He's doing a 360. Now Zach's credit as well. His dad was a woodworker or just a fixer upper, and this was the old way of doing things. You'd have the basement, you have or the garage that was just completely organized, like some of the rich kids' Lego sets, right? Green?
Yeah,
No?
yeah. My dad was like, "Hey, listen, any tool I have, anything you can use it, but you have to put it back where you found it. I don't want to go looking for my fucking." And he used the word. I don't want to go looking for my fucking tool when I need it.
Same.
The moment I look for something and it's not there, you're done. But you put it back. You use my stuff all day long, and that's where I got it from.
Within a 3-foot radius,
that's good
I'm
parenting
cool.
right there.
Yeah, and that's the truth for anybody that tries to be efficient. You know what I mean? And some people are messy efficient. They know where everything is, and it's messy. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm not saying that's right, or vice versa. But
Like this is my gig. You put it back where you found it. It's that simple.
on occasion at Reverend, we will take something from Zach's desk and just slightly move it to the left, and it will be put back the right way the next day. This dude is.
Do all three of you work at Reverend?
At
I
one
used
point,
to.
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I do. Green does. Andy is getting his master's in college at the moment. So that is that.
I'm in
So,
my internship. I am a professional.
experimenting. So really quickly, let's just dive into a few listings on Craigslist. Now, I'm into the woodworking part of it where I might have to acquire something because I've heard so many YouTube channels about woodworking suggest don't buy it until you need it. There's no most people know working with wood or building anything in your garage, whether it be model cars or it doesn't have to be just wood, just takes patience. And that's one thing that woodworking's taught me. But you don't need to buy the tool before you actually need it, right? So let's take a gander at a few Craigslist listings and see and get your opinion, David, if this is a worthy of a purchase for the price. Here we go. Number one, the Sears table saw, 10-inch blade, says needs new blade. That scares me off the bat. Because when you buy something and you dulled it down and decide you don't want it, and it looks like the guy spray painted it as well, it cause for
right on the
right under the pallet.
cause for concern. Dave, if you came across this and one of your friends like me says, "Hey, should I buy this? Is this worth it?"
Look at the shine on that tabletop, man.
Yeah.
No work has been done.
It's never been used.
How many black tabletops are there in the table saw?
The
So
armature's fucked up.
So, first of all, old Craftsman stuff, quality tools. The newer Craftsman stuff, not so much. So, $55 for if that is cast iron, I'm questioning what that top is because it's so shiny. But if that's a cast iron table
It's
saw
spray
top,
painted.
then that $55 is a steal. So any tool that you buy, new or used, you're going to change the blade immediately. You buy a new table saw, it's going to come with a crap blade. You buy a new bandsaw, it's going to come with a crap blade. If you buy a used table saw, it's going to come with a crap blade. Change the blade immediately.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's like strings on a guitar. You fucking change
Yes.
that shit out.
Yeah.
And
you
preferably
go.
to one that you like and you're familiar with too. And I will give credit to Harbor Freight's Helix series. Their blades that I have are actually really nice. They're not like when you buy, for instance, their table saw. It's not like the blade has 6, razor edges. It's actually a nice toothed blade. But other people,
Toothsome.
I don't know what the term is, but other people cut corners. Okay, here we go. Craigslisting number 2. Hey, I'm in the market for a router table. Here we go. Nice stationary router table with Biscuit Joiner. And maybe some people are like, what the hell is that? And it says Jeep Country. That might be Is that an advertising thing, Dave? Is that to sell that?
The Jeep Country's throwing me off here.
I'm gonna say it's
Jeeps
about
have been made on that.
Upton in Sylvania is Jeep country.
Yeah, that is correct. So Wolfcraft makes good stuff. So again, that's a nice big flat surface for a router. Does it come with a router? Does that?
It appears that it does, but often people put that in the picture and they sell it separately.
So I think even without the router, that's a good buy.
And the Biscuit Joiner, are those the attachment stuff? Is that even? I'm not even familiar with.
It's a made up word.
So
No, what's a bit-
the Biscuit Joiner, I've never seen a Biscuit Joiner that is mounted in a stationary tool like that. I've always seen it as a handheld thing. So I don't know about that.
Me too. And I didn't put an extra picture of it, but they did show the attachment that has the biscuit.
Well, that does look like a handheld router that's just mounted from the bottom up.
And that's always the case. Yeah. So, it looks like a nice beefy table. And even if it comes with a cheap router, you could throw in a nice 1.25 horsepower in there, and you're good for life.
Now, on your 2020 shop, showing off your shop, you have a router table that you built into your work area.
Yes.
So for a novice or somebody starting off, often you'll just buy a handheld one or whatnot. And then it's like, wow, this will be so much easier if my hand wasn't jiggling. So then you kind of go towards something like that. At what point did you say, it's probably best if I take this router and actually put it just on my flush table?
So I had a dedicated router table. It was like on wheels and I could move it around. And I realized there's the wing of my miter saw that only gets used when I cut 8-foot boards, which is pretty rare. And I was like, I can make really good efficient use of the space if I actually drop my router into that wing of the miter saw. And plus, it looks cool. Like it just looks like it's part of the furniture in the shop. Unlike most woodworkers, the feel and look of my place where I do my business, where I want to be creative, is really important to me. I don't just have tools thrown in. Like, I have a mural painted on my wall. I have carpet. I have a drop ceiling. My shop is well lit. When I walk into my shop, I want it to feel like a place where I want to create, because this is a place that I go into most days. So I like the way it just kind of flows with the furniture. It drops right into the miter saw table.
Yeah, I really like that, and I encourage anybody to take it. It's about a 22 and 44 second, if I was to be creepy, video tour of the shop of 2020.
Too late.
No, I don't think that's actually the exact thing, but anyway. Okay,
I
so
will check that.
it actually is pretty close, though. All right, so picture number 3, Craigslist. Is this a good buy or not?
Here's one of you using the bathroom.
Hand saw slot.
All right,
$20.
so
I gotta keep it light.
A lot of people say, and the reason why I brought this picture up was, all the old tools are, they stand the test of time. Those are the ones you want. I found this picture. Yeah, now I found these 4 saws, actually 5. You're only seeing kind of 4 here, but they look like maybe they're done for being used as an actual tool. What do you say to something like this?
Yeah, you're gonna take one of those tools, and then you're gonna paint a scenic scene on there and hang it up on your wall. That's what you're gonna do with these.
Wow.
Or your restaurant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's gonna go into a Cracker Barrel somewhere.
Your last
first of
name
all, the
above
photo's
your
upside
door.
down. That bothers the crap out of me.
It is.
So,
Well, you're sawing the highest part of the branch. You're up in the tree.
yeah. So
can
you're
only go
also
up, baby.
doing it very dangerously. So you're sawing above your head with the saw upside down. Things are gonna.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it so? Other than perhaps an art project, would you suggest that you'd pass on that? Then
I would pass on that, unless you have a good source to find somebody who can reset and sharpen the teeth, or do it yourself. Those tools are no longer going to make cool furniture. I'm sorry.
Okay. Hey, fair.
What is your feeling about old wood that people find, like reclaimed wood, like a fence
Yeah.
from 1986. I had
So-
people fighting over my fence from 1986.
I know a
if you-
barn that's about to be torn down, man. Too.
So all of that is very valuable wood. So a lot of, especially if a barn was built in the 1800s and 1900s,
Hand
you
hewn.
might find just slabs of walnut that are holding the place up. Like my buddy has an old barn, and there's just beams made of walnut
That aren't
people would
going
kill over these
anywhere.
things. So, and all of that wood is old growth wood, which means it has really, really tight grain, and that tree was probably 100 years old when they chopped it down. When you buy wood now, it all comes from some sort of farm. Like they're growing these trees as fast as they can, and they're new growth. And so the growth rings on there are not as tight. You're going to get some crazy, not straight grain.
in fibrous.
Yeah. So that old growth wood is just better. And then barn wood. People love that worn, weathered look on there. And then there are certain woods that you just can't get anymore. So if that old wood is actual mahogany, you can't get real mahogany anymore because those trees pretty much don't exist. So a lot of that is very valuable stuff. And I'm all for somebody reclaiming something instead of it going into a
bonfire.
burn pile. Yeah, a bonfire.
Yeah, and I do unsolicitedly would like to give a shout out to a place called Antique Beams and Boards. That was one of my first websites I ever did, and they are just about an hour and a half, hour or so south of us. Very cool, family operated. Basically, his whole business plan was: you guys have this old barn, you don't want it anymore. You don't have to. I think this was the old plan. You don't have to pay me, but I'm just going to go take this stuff apart and get it out of your, because the barn's like,
oh
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like
And-
a fucking beehive.
So, I mean, he was, when I was doing the website for him, he was like supplying like Dunkin' Donuts with, reclaimed
The
wood.
corporate
and,
offices or whatever.
oh, yeah. And I mean, you're talking hand hewn stuff, or people literally were chopping away at it with their muscles and not using tools for the most part. So, anyway, it is really, really cool. But we got two more projects to go through before we call this. So hang tight here, folks. Here we go. The Craftsman drill press radial arm saw.
Old school, baby.
Whoa.
$15, which I have.
I'd buy it just because how old it is.
I seriously have 2 seconds away from actually buying this. Older drill press. I can't find a chuck for the key. No worries there. Works good. The drill is unbolted from the stand for easier transport. 10-inch radial arm. That's the other part of. I'm sorry, I don't have that picture. There's an
Okay,
actual.
that's a separate tool, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
separate tool. You're getting both for $50.
Okay, so nowadays people have table saws and miter saws. Back in the day, radial arm saws was the thing. So basically, just this big sliding blade that ran on these rails, and they become inaccurate over time unless you do a lot of maintenance on them. So you don't see a lot of I'm not even sure if anybody makes radial arm saws anymore, but you rarely see them because they are not as accurate as using a table saw with a fence or using a compound sliding miter saw. So the radial arm saw might not be what you want, but that old drill press for $50 might be worth it because it's all old cast iron and stuff made back in the day was made to last a lifetime.
But then again, it also really has to do with what you're building. So if you have something that doesn't have high tolerance and you just have to fucking rip on a radio, I mean, it's still.
Yes, there's also a danger. Is there a radial arm saw at Reverend? Did I see one there? No,
There
Okay.
used to be back when we were in the little garage unit. There used to be, but
Yeah, that was
Not
at the
anymore.
beginning.
There's also a danger with them too. So there's a reason why they don't exist anymore.
No,
so
I
the
know.
inaccuracies and they get loose over time.
no, right.
And they're only AM,
Dude,
right? Not
I
FM?
used to, before I got into this whole guitar business thing. I used to
took a
be.
while.
I don't know if you know this. I used to be a pattern maker back when they
Okay.
used to make. I don't know if you know what a pattern maker is.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's from like back in the past. But we had a radial a saw that we would just cut boards with before we took it to the rest of the woodworking tooling. But the blade on this radial
man.
arm was this fucking wide, man. And when you'd fire that thing up, it would fucking scream. I was so afraid of that fucking thing. But
Yeah.
that was just for ripping fucking just rough cutting, ripping boards and shit like that.
The way the blade spins on those, it wants to come at you. So
No, it does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you don't want a 20-inch spinning blade
No, you
coming
don't.
at your chest.
You don't. Oh, and trust me, I've seen people lose appendages at the shop I worked at.
Oh, yeah. So that being said, my friends, there's a wood supply place here in Toledo called KenCraft, and they do all their cross cutting with an old DeWalt radial arm saw, but they've maintained it and it's pretty accurate and it's set up. But I don't think you can buy them new, and I don't think you should search for them.
Yeah, I haven't seen one in a long time.
And shout out to KenCraft too. They have like the best staff of
Super friendly.
knowledgeable staff. And when anybody in the woodworking circle says, you know what, at some point you're going to just not have to go to a big box store because you want the experience and the know-how and the quality. And there is no other industry than the wood industry that is so true. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you. If you want to start off in this stuff, go to a specialty store and not ask, Fred, who says that he's never even, I never built anything in my life, but I can.
That's in backstock. I'll have to get the forklift.
But yeah.
Also, I think what people don't realize is they might think like a specialty store, like a hardwood dealer like KenCraft, would be more expensive than going to Home Depot and getting red oak or plywood. The truth is, you can get that red oak cheaper and better from a place like KenCraft. And also, the plywood might be a little bit more expensive at KenCraft than Home Depot, but it is a totally different grade. Like, all the plywood that you get at Home Depot is meant for construction. The plywood that you would get at a place like KenCraft is made for making furniture. It is high grade. There's lots of plies. It's super flat, and it's a pleasure to work with.
And also shout out, I have one little show and tell. From a woodworking perspective, and I was talking to Green about this, one of the things I disliked about a tape measure is that curvature. And I was at Toledo Plywood, and they have flat ones that you can get. Mm-hmm. These things are for projects that you're measuring in between the, anywhere from 1 inch to 24 inches. That curvature is often hard for me to get that actual, on the nuts where you have to measure twice.
Yeah. Oh, on the nuts.
The flat ones, dude. And this was $8 from Toledo Plywood. So shout out to those guys for. Not that they're going to listen to this. We only have famous people listening, I guess. But, there are the I guess what I'm getting at with that is that the expertise for these people, from these people that are in these those hardware shops there's an Ace in White House that's amazing that has old timers that have been working there forever that will just give you that knowledge. That's where I want to spend my money personally. But yeah, KenCraft is and also for anybody, maybe not India, but KenCraft does ship, to my understanding, anywhere.
Yeah,
you can
even India.
Hey,
Maybe.
India, let's start a revolution. Let's start fucking making things out of wood, man.
All right, so here's the last one. And again, we're just going through some Craigslist listings and would you have this for your shop? And this is this a good price? And this is the last one. Here we go.
Oh, yeah, a CNC mill. So a $25,000 CNC mill. So if I'm going to...
how do you say the name, though? Is that Marky Shiki Kiki?
Morisiki.
Oh, and it's got a 5th axis? $25,000? You kidding me? From Hicksville?
Is that a deal?
So, it just might be. It's going to cost you $10,000 to get that shipped. So, have you ever seen one of those machines in use?
No, but I was actually using it as humor, but we can get serious on it if you'd like.
I don't know much about them. I've been in factories. At my previous job, we would have to go to these factories and shoot video and make little promos. And that's probably milling aluminum parts, and it just does the same thing all day. But think of it like a router that comes down and it's got a spinning bit and it cuts a thing, but then it can tilt to the side and cut a thing from the side, and it does all of this. And then there's this water jets that are just shooting water to cool it and keep the chips down. They're absolutely amazing.
And then they can also, they can also rotate bits too.
Yeah.
I don't know if that one can, but some of them can rotate bits.
It's on Craigslist.
Well, for 25, that's weird. That's weird.
Is that the place to sell a 25?
No, if you got that amount of money to play with and you're serious, no, you're gonna go about it the
Facebook
right way.
Marketplace with that one.
Well, the nice
At
thing
least.
about Craigslist is
very
nobody
least.
solicits you for trades and
Right. Yeah.
And when I went and got my bandsaw a couple weeks ago or so, the guy was nice enough to help me load it in my car because it was 200 pounds. I gave him $10 more than what he was asking for, and he was like, "What are you doing that for?" I really appreciate you, turning it on, setting up, let me see that it works, and open it up and just kind of look inside, and then he helped me get it into my car.
Oh,
He's like, I sell stuff on Craigslist all the time, but nobody
this
ever
erotica?
beautiful. Oh,
pays more. But if somebody's
It's
going to go
almost
out there,
porn in itself. That's almost like porn in itself.
He opened it up and spread it out and turned it on. He didn't even charge me.
yeah, he totally wasn't looking. Anyway, so
the French.
all right, folks, I apologize. We're over the hour mark.
It
We
goes
have to
by
call
too
it.
quickly.
Yeah,
It goes
that
by too
is.
fucking quickly.
It does, but we do want to thank you, David, not only for your content, because I think all of us actually have watched, especially the one that you did for our Railhammer sign, which is pretty amazing.
I did watch that.
Yeah, it's so amazing. And believe it or not, for people that are looking for inspiration, because that's really what it is. I mean, you can be any skill level. And you sometimes you just need to search, just like songwriting. Sometimes you listen to a couple other people's songs, and I kind of want to. I like where that direction is. I want to do my take on that, and I think that's no different. What do you want to say, Zach?
You don't have to be an expert right off the bat and get it right the first time. Just dive in, get your hands in there, get them dirty, fuck shit up, see how
Don't get
it
'em
works,
too far
and
in
then,
there.
and then
There
you
are
start creating.
blades.
And then when you actually start fucking doing something, and that satisfaction you get, I swear to God, it's the fucking best drug on this fucking planet, and not enough people know about that.
The cast of Simple Blasphemy does not condone putting your hands close to power tools. Please do not put your hands close to power tools, but please do.
Hypothetically,
get
I'm fucking put your,
get
get
in
your
there.
hands in there,
Yeah,
fuck
yeah,
shit up,
yeah,
see how
yeah.
it works, make
Just-
mistakes.
Tendons and blood.
We have talked on safety, and that's one thing when you're starting off at a certain level in any discipline.
Oh, and that's back when I worked at a pattern shop, and there's been a number of people that have gone through that place. Our disc sanders were like the diameter was like that, and this guy was like he's like sanding aluminum. Now, if you know anything about aluminum, as soon as it heats up, it becomes sticky. So all of a sudden, when it heated up, the 80 grit paper grabbed it, and there's like a very small, like an eighth of an inch from the fucking table to the disc sander. It sucked the fucking bar in that he was sanding and his fucking fingers. He had to have reconstructive surgery.
So
And I've seen so many people fuck their shit up that going in. I was the only musician in that shop, and I was just like,
Yeah,
no,
but you have to
where are my
understand.
fingers? What am I doing? What am I doing?
You have to look at but Green, you have to look at the glass as half full. I mean, he did lose weight.
No, Jesus Christ.
So here's the thing. You hear about woodworkers or people who work in shops all their lives who cuts off a finger or whatever. You rarely ever hear about somebody doing it twice. So at the most, you're only going to lose one finger.
Yeah.
You're going to learn your lesson.
It's
and
the
then
Native
you can move on
American
with your life.
precept. It's just,
David-
you don't warn the kid about the fire. Let the kid get burned by the fire
But
once.
thank God I had those examples around me to like not make
To
me
respect.
have to lose something to
There was
make me like
Stumpy
this is fucking
and
serious.
Lefty and Limpy
Right.
and
Tiny.
Tiny. All those people taught me such great lessons about power tools. I can't tell you.
All right. Well, David, thank you so much for coming on and entertaining us
it was cool.
with a little bit of background. And like I said, once again, inspiring people to make something. And I most certainly look forward to future content. And I encourage everybody to go subscribe. Like you said, it's not only just wood stuff. And in fact, one video said, hey, I've got these sliding doors, and one day they're going to be kind of a mural thing, and we're going to have different colors. And as the time progresses, all of a sudden where your garage doors are, you see that things are different colors, and there's different organizations and things like that. It gives everybody ideas that want to, become better, more efficient, more creative. So on that front, thank you very much for what you do.
Thank
Good
you.
enough?
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Doodly-doo.
The goal is always to just like surround yourself with things that you make, because like Zach said, it's the best drug in the world. So I just hope somebody sees the video. Maybe you're not even a woodworker and you see a video and you're like, I want to make something now. I want to make that out of cardboard or paper or whatever. So just make stuff.
I'm going to text you guys a picture of my wood shop. I will walk out into my backyard and I'll show you what it looks like. So
Do
I
it
can
to it.
scare
All right.
everybody to sleep.
That is our show for today, folks. We'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and getting to meet David. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Have a great night. Woo!